Well, I'm pixelated already. Okay. I am live and hopefully we'll have a decent broadcast. But the weather here is kind of cloudy and starting to rain. So hopefully it will be hopefully the broadcast will be okay. And I'm just going to wait a minute or two for people to come on. I guess I was a couple of minutes late, but anyway, I am here. Let's see here. Just get this stuff straightened out here. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. If you can hear me okay, just give me a thumbs up or something. I think you probably can. Right now I'm not pixelated, so that's good. We'll just see. We'll see what happens. All right. Hi, Deb. All right. Okay, so today I'm going to work on what I'm calling the Gypsy Moth centerpiece, which means I'm just making this focal piece right here. I'm not doing the bracelet part for today's project. However, I do have a few videos back. I have the demo to make a tension bracelet, which you can use with this just fine. Or there's also a demo farther back for the Celtic line chainmail bracelet. It's also called Helms weave, I believe it is. But you could use any kind of bracelet attachment you want. I happen to really like this, the Helms weave or Celtic line, because it lays flat on your arm. And I like that. I just like the way that feels on my arm. Although, you know, more rounded would be fine too. Hi, Lynn. Hi, Wendy. Glad you joined me. Anyway, so what I'm going to show you is how you get this moth out of this piece of copper that has a rubber stamped butterfly on here. Now, I'm not going to do the etching today. I've covered etching before. I probably will do some other projects in the future with etching, but down at, I think it's the very first demo that I did, I think that was on etching. So you can always look back in the files and find out how I did this process. But it's pretty cool when you think about being able to, you know, get something like this out of a raw piece of material like this. So just so people understand, you know, how this came to be, because it's got the little ridges, the etched lines on here, and that's all compliments of ferric chloride for the etchant that I use, and I use Stays On ink and a rubber stamp. This is of the Moth. I've been trying to find, I've been Googling to see if I can find another Moth as a replacement for this one. At some point in time, this is going to wear out, and I really like this this Moth. It came on a sheet of, I think it was Hero Arts as the manufacturer, the stamp manufacturer, and I think it was maybe just called Butterflies, but it had butterflies and moths on it. And this one I particularly like for for a bracelet. So, but you could certainly make it a necklace too. It would work. Then, rather than saw these all out by hand, which is really what you would normally do, I had a pancake die made, custom made by Dar Shelton. He's on Facebook and he does a lot of custom designs. You know, you send him the design you want and he cuts it out for you. So then after this is etched, all I have to do is slip this inside there and take it to my hydraulic press and punch it out. And that's pretty nice. Pretty sweet, especially when you're doing multiple projects like this. So, hi, Mary. Okay, so anyway, that's just how this moth comes to be. Via copper sheet, rubber stamps, and a pancake die. Okay, so I do want to talk to you guys about hole punches today because there's a lot of different hole punches out there, and they have different hole sizes, and sometimes you need a specific size, and you may or may not have that hole punch. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the camera on the table here, and I'm going to spread out a few of the punches that I have, the hole punches. And I have a variety, and I'll just give you a brief rundown. Let's see here, of the differences. Hey, Sonny. Hi, Ken. Okay, so here are some of the different hole punches that I have, and I'll tell you some of the differences. This is a standard 2-hole punch. Okay. This is how it comes from the manufacturer. I think this was a Eurotool purchase or item. So this is the first hole punch that, not this specific one, but this type was the very first hole punch that I owned. And I really like it, except you can't get in very far with your metal. Say if you wanted to make a hole in the center of your piece and you have a larger piece, this is not going to make it. This side has a little bit further reach, but it still doesn't go very far. Okay. Now this typical hole punch is a 1/16 on this end and a 3/32 on this end. And oh, hi, Connie. Howdy do. So there's that size, 1/16 and 3/32 on this. So you have two choices. Then there are hole punch pliers, and there's a variety of sizes available and shapes. The this one is a 1.5 hole. And this one is a 1.8. This is in millimeters. So I wish they had everything the same way, but they don't. It's either inches or millimeters all the time. So I wrote on my handout, which you will have a copy of later, the differences in the hole punches and the sizes. And of course, I don't have that with me. This is not the revised edition, unfortunately. Let me, well, I guess I can't access that. Okay, well, maybe I can. Let me see here. I'm going to see if that makes any difference. Okay. Yeah, I've got a breakdown on the sizes of the hole punches and how you can use them. All right. All right. So we've got these punch pliers, and like I said, the 1.5 millimeters and 1.8 millimeters, and they also come in square hole and round hole. But I have a pair of each of those, and actually I have like no use for them. So I don't know what the purpose was for the different shapes. If you guys know, you can chime in and let me know, but the round ones are really the only ones that I use. These are nice. They have a little further reach. You can get to the center of, I think this is a 2-inch disc. You can get to the center of this, but it has a screw here, so you have to make sure that I guess it's an extra screw. You have to make sure that that's lifted so you don't get the mark from that when you're punching. Okay, it's easy enough. So that's nice. So these are good. So if you have these, that's great. Then the next ones that I like a lot, that I actually use most of the time, are the Euro Tool deluxe punches. There's a 3-hole punch, and then there's a 4-hole punch. And the difference is the 4-hole punch is basically so that if you want to make your own rivets with different wires, it tells you right here on the front what gauge wires you can use and the size hole that you would punch, to get the corresponding holes for that wire to fit. I use this for all kinds of stuff, not necessarily for riveting, but I just find that it's very useful. And then there is the 3-hole punch, and this one has the 1/16 hole. This one has a 1/8, which is pretty good size, and then there's also a 3/32 on here. So this is a very versatile one. Both of the hole punches come with this guide that is screwed on the back, and I never really have used that much, but if you wanted to use it, it's kind of a handy thing. You can say, if you wanted to, if you were making multiple pieces of the same thing and you were putting a hole in the same place, you could insert your piece, your metal piece. I'm going to put this down, make it a little bit more stable. You could put your piece in there and say you've decided where you want that hole to be. Okay, so I'm going to just put my punch down on it, just resting on it, and then I would take the guide and line that piece up and then tighten these little thumb screws down here, and that gives you a guide for any subsequent pieces. So say you've punched your hole and now you want to put that hole in the same place, so all you have to do is line up or just put your piece in, and it stops right at that point where you had already set it with the guide. So it can be useful. I don't use that much, but it's a nice feature to have. If you, I took this one off, and if I'm doing a lot of production work, then I will set up my little portable vise. And this is a pretty neat little thing. And it has a ball in here that pivots, so you can set it however you want, however you want to work. If you want it, facing you or on the side, whatever. I would put my piece in. Well, I would tighten this up first and get it in the orientation that I want, and then I would just put my hole punch in here and tighten this up, and then I'm good to go for multiple pieces. I don't have to pick this up, put it down, whatever, hold it. This holds it nice and steady. So it's kind of a neat thing. So I'm not, I'm not trying to sell you on these things. I'm just trying to show you possibilities that are very helpful when you're making jewelry. Okay, so, and then these have a little hex wrench that you twist around till you feel it break through the metal, and then you back up and take it out. Okay, and the reason I'm showing you this is because on today's project we are making holes for our rivets. Okay, so it's all kind of related. All right, these are great little vices to take. I take these with me when I teach, and they're pretty portable. All right, and then I'm going to show you this nifty tool that I will show you how it works when we get to the riveting part of our project. But this is the Beadsmith Easy Riveter. This is a knockoff of, I think it's Metal Clay Findings brand of two-hole punch. They came out with it originally some years back, and now knockoffs are being made. And what this is it is a rivet setting tool, and it has a hole punch on one end. This is a 1/16 hole punch here, and on this end is the rivet setter on this end. You can also get an attachment. Actually, it comes, this is the package that it comes in. It comes with a domed base that you could get into a ring, and say, because it's rounded, if you tried to just put a straight rivet tool in the rounded ring band and then you go to punch it, you're going to press a dent, basically, kind of flatten that top a little bit, and having that domed base on this is a little thing that you just screw in here. You remove this piece and you put that one in. That keeps the shape rounded so you don't distort your metal. Okay. It also has available a 3/32 punch that you can remove this one and you put the 3/32 on. So if you want a larger hole, you can do that. There is also, well, I guess not with the Beadsmith brand. At least I don't think there is. But with the metal or the crafted findings or metal clay findings, I can't remember which one it is. Their original tool has the ability to put a different part in if you wanted to do eyelets. And I do have that tool as well. But that's about twice the price that this is. So, if you can swing the bucks for the metal clay findings one, that's great. But if you can't, this is great too. But I don't believe that you can do eyelets with this one. It'd be nice if they had an attachment for that. So just putting that out there so you see what's available. Okay. So I'm going to demonstrate this later when we set our rivets. The rivets that I'm using today are rivets from Metal Clay Findings, and they are what you would use with that system, but you can also use them just with a ball peen hammer too. So they're kind of versatile. You can use them to the degree of their length. I'm talking about, we're using very short rivets that we're going to pound in with the rivet, with the ball peen. But if you had a very long rivet, that's not going to work. These aren't going to work with that. You would be better off using wire. So these are neat because they have, let me show you. Well, let's just say this is the 5/32 length, and they have a nice little head on them, so they look very professional. It's a little bit different look than when you're doing wire rivets, but you know, it's just a choice that you have. They come in all kinds of different lengths. If you were if you were riveting lots of pieces stacked together and you needed that extra length, you know, they come quite long. This is a really long one. I don't think I've ever used one that long, but you know, there are lots of possibilities. Okay, the metal clay findings tool, Sunny, it looks just about the same. Well, it's called Crafted Findings. Same thing. I have this one. I have a problem with this one on this end. This was the hole punch on this end. And for some reason, the threads inside of this are very tight for me to screw that down. So I don't know if it got messed up in use somehow, but I need actually to call the manufacturer and see if there's something that we can or some way we can repair that so that's functional again. But this had the 1/16 cutting size on this side, and this has the rivet side on this side. So they're almost they're almost identical. Well, actually, they pretty much are identical. But another thing from the Crafted Findings company is they now produce a long reach rivet tool. And if I were to get a new rivet tool from them, I would get the long reach, which means it goes in even further. I'm not sure exactly how far it goes in, but you see how this goes to here, which is almost center on this disc, not quite, but I believe the other ones, well, I know they do, but I don't know how far they go back. But they would be, this cutout would be extend further, if you know what I mean, if you get the gist. Debbie, is that what you meant, the Crafted Findings? That is the name on this tool. This was, I want to say this is probably $89 retail. I don't think they sell them wholesale, but I think that's the normal price. And then all your rivets and stuff come separate, and all your little tool attachments are separate also. But you know, I had to buy I have multiples of these because when I teach, you know, people have to use them, and you don't want to be waiting in line for a ton of people to use the same tools. So I've got a little bit of an investment in here. But yeah, I mean, they come they've got replacement parts and stuff too. So it's a very good company actually. But the Beadsmith knockoff one does pretty good too. It's just you're a little bit more limited that you can't do the eyelets. Okay, so that's that. All right, let me put these away. They make, using this system, it makes really, really nice rivets. And I'll show you the difference in just a little bit. Any other questions? Okay. Yeah, and Debbie also, like I said, Crafted Findings, I don't know if you do a Google search, do metal clay findings, type that in, and I think they're both the same company. I'm not certain, but you might want to check that out too. Okay. All right, so for today's project, I have my butterfly cut out, punched out. Also, I have on the handout, I have notes about the different size holes and how they relate to today's project. So, you know, using what I'm using, okay? I don't know how to explain this, but I found that the, a couple of the punches were a little bit tight. The holes were just a little bit tight to accommodate this rivet. But I found that if I stuck my awl in here and just kind of reamed it a little bit, then the rivet would fit in there. So it's just an observation that I made. And, you know, it's nice if you can get lots of different uses for the same tool. So, you know, the way these rivets are made, they're 1/16 in diameter, and then, you know, the length is the other measurement. So this particular rivet is a 1/16 by 1/16. And then there's like 5/30, but 1/16 by 5/32, 1/16 by 1/8, you know, and so on down your little fractions. Okay, so I've got my butterfly already cut out. If you have ordered a kit from me, one of the Moth kits, you will be getting these things that I'm showing you, and you may need to do just the slightest bit of filing on the edges. I took off the burr, and well, there was no burr, but the tab, you know, when you use a pancake die, there's always a tab. So I filed those off, but some of the edges might be just a tad rough. So you might want to just file those up a little bit. Okay. But it should only need minimal filing. Okay. So for this I'm using, let me move my stuff here. I put a bigger tile on my work area here since I am going to be soldering, and I don't want to burn my plastic mat. So what I have here are my soldering board, and I've got a couple of the hummingbird holders that I like to use a lot in my work. These have been a godsend to many people who solder small parts. And also I've got a couple pieces of titanium strip. Let me see. Oh, Jennifer, the long reach is 5 millimeters longer or more for $10. Yeah, it's a good deal. That's a real good deal. I need to find out if my rivets will work the same way with the long reach. I imagine they do. Yeah, one of these days. That's on my wish list. I don't need it, but it would be nice to. It'd be nice to have that in my collection of tools. Okay, so what I'm going to do first is I've included. Well, in the kit there are a couple of big jump rings. There's a bunch of these pre-made rivets. There is a 6 millimeter bezel cup and a cabochon of, I don't know, 4 choices or whatever. So the jump rings that I have here are 14 gauge, and I believe it's an 8 millimeter diameter. Okay, so what I want to do is solder these jump rings on the sides of the Moth. Here we go. As soon as I start yapping, I get a dry throat. Doesn't take long. I could never be a public speaker because of that. Okay. So what I'm going to do is, I guess maybe only one titanium strip is necessary. I'm just using these to level out my jump ring so it's not drooping a little bit. Okay, so I guess one piece is enough. The titanium strips are great. I get them from Rio. They come in, I want to say they're like 6-inch long strips by 1 inch wide. And then I just chop them up and use them how I need them. So I'm going to the reason I'm putting this size jump ring on here is because if you make a tension bangle, this is with, I believe, 12 gauge wire, and by the time I hammer this out a little bit, and I try to thin this out a little bit, but this needs to pass through that jump ring. And if it's too small, if the jump ring is too small, that's not going to work well. Okay, so that's my logic behind having this size jump ring. And what I'm going to do is, the jump ring has a split in it, you know, from being made. It hasn't been soldered yet, so I'm going to do that all in one action, if it works. So actually what I'm going to do, did I think this out ahead of time? Not enough. So what I'm going to do is just heat up my flux a little bit. Oh, don't fail me now. I didn't get a good application of that. Okay. Okay, just enough. Now, I am going to place I've got the split inside, you know, facing inside the butter or the moth. Hit that with a little bit more flux. And where's my solder? Okay, I am going to use hard solder on these rings because I'm going to be soldering again for the bezel cup, and I'm going to put that on with easy solder. So I'm going to grab a few pieces of hard solder. I always lay out a few extras because they tend to blow off of the solder board. I have made little divots in the board from time to time, but this board, I guess, is relatively new and it doesn't have any in here. All right, then I want to set up my hummingbirds. They're right in front of my face. And of course, I'm just using it enough to keep that jump ring down on the moth, on the copper piece, because I don't want any gap in there. All right, so I'm going to pick solder my little solder chips. Okay, so I've got my solder on here. I'm heating. Oh, come on. think I'm running low on fuel. This is much hotter than I want it to be. I'm afraid I've got my laptop real close to this, and it's like that was like really stupid on my part to put that there. So now I'm afraid that I'm going to melt it. Okay, yeah, that can is just about empty. So that's why it's acting like that. Now, where's my utility pliers? Okay. Why am I pick soldering? I don't know. I liked doing it that way. That'd probably be my best answer. But I could have laid it. I'm doing it because I could lay the little solder chips inside the ring, but I'm hoping not to get more solder on here than I need to as far as cleanup goes. I can see that this piece is up just a little bit. It did not seat all the way down. So what I'm going to do, I think I'm just going to hit it again real quick with the flame. I should pickle it, I suppose, but it all takes too much time with these demos to do all that stuff. So, but know that that should be what I would do, is pickle it, clean it, and then redo it. Put that there, and then when I solder it, I'll push it down a little bit. These suckers get really hot, so you got to be careful. All right, so I've quenched it, and I'm going to put this in the pickle. See, so those are soldered. Those are soldered on right now. How do you know when to choose pick solder? For me, Sonny, I don't know. I just, that's how I learned to solder. So that's just my natural choice. But like if I do inside of a bezel, I will lay all my little solder chips inside, you know, because you want that to melt all uniformly. But when you're just doing little jobs like this, to me, the pick soldering is just an easy way to go. Also, at this point, what I'm going to do is just bend this a little bit. Let me grab here. I am going to, this is what I do a lot of times when I'm doing these demos. This is not what you normally would do. You would pickle this right now, clean it all up, and then I would solder on the bezel. But since we're doing a demo and it's not really a class, I'm not going to take the time to do all those things. Otherwise, this would last for hours. So what I'm going to do, I am all thumbs. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to wipe out that fire scale just in the area that I want to bezel or solder the bezel cup on. So I'm just going to clean this up right here. That way it's only going to go in the pickle one time. Okay. All right. So then I'm going to just give it a slight curve. Just going to dap it slightly because of putting on that bezel cup. I can't give it too much of an arch. Otherwise the bezel cup would not fit on there properly. So I'm just going to give this a little, just a little tap in the center, just to give it a slight curve, okay? All right. So now I can solder on my bezel cup. And these are probably still pretty darn hot, so I want to keep this stable. This is where it'd be nice to have several of these, several extra of these hummingbirds. So that way you don't have to worry about picking up a hot one. I'm going to do this. That's kind of not good. Bear with me. This is all kind of trial and error. All right. So I'm going to flux that. I am going to put a little bit of easy solder on the back of this bezel cup. Okay. Come on. There we go. All right. You see how fast that flowed? Okay, so now I've got my solder on the back of my bezel cup, and I'm going to lay that down. You guys. Ah. All right, so I'm going to lay that down. I think I'll give it one more spritz. Okay. All Hi, Nancy. Okay, now I'm going to get the bezel cup soldered. I could see that sink down. I don't know if you could. Okay. So that's on. So the bezel cup is on. Okay, so now I'm going to quench that and then put it in the pickle. And hopefully that won't take too long. So now I don't need to have this hot stuff by me. So I will get rid of this. If you have all your tools and things handy and the right tools, like I've said before, it makes your job a whole lot easier. Makes it go a lot smoother. All right. So that has to stay in the pickle for just a few minutes. And I'll just clean this up. And if you have any other questions, you can ask away. Jennifer, I see you said it was $10 more for the long reach. I think I saw that. Okay, you put a link. That's good. You put a link up there in case anybody's interested in finding out. I mean, it's an investment, guys. It's not something that's cheap, but I have used it so many times, and it's just been really nice. It really makes the rivets look nice and professional. If you want that look, I mean, you can certainly make your own, and they still can look pretty darn nice. But I like the fact that you can pretty much streamline your work using this system. All right, so now I'm going to get set up for, I guess I'm going to have to do those holes. I'm going to punch those holes, and I guess I'm going to use my my 3-hole punch and my vise, because I'm putting in quite a few holes. They are the 1/16 inch. Let's see here. Yes, it's a big tile. Just got from the home improvement store. They're like, I don't know, $1.50 or something. Maybe $2 for just, they always have a section where they've got loose tiles, you know, that you can buy. They're great to work on. They are a nice heat-proof surface. I have them under many areas of where I work. I've got the real large ones, like the 16-inch square tiles that I have under my permanent soldering station, and I also have a sheet of cement board on my bench, so it's all protected. Well, actually, I don't have a regular jeweler's bench. I have a 6-foot plastic table that I have cement board covering that whole area, because I share my lamp work area with my soldering area. So I've got cement board across the whole plastic table, and then I've got ceramic tile on top of that. So it's pretty safe. My dream would would be to have a nice jeweler's bench, but the way I've got the space is limited here in my studio, and I've got all the space taken up, so that's probably never going to happen, but that's okay. All right, so let's see here. I've got to make the holes. I'm going to make the holes with the 1/16, which would be this one. And these things unscrew, these little guides, they came off. I'm going to set this up. I could have punched my holes actually before I soldered anything, and that would have been the smart thing to do, because now I have the piece curved and I also have the bezel on it. So I may not use this. I just may use the handheld. I think that's going to be the way to go under the circumstances. Had I left the piece flat, I could have put all the holes in the butterfly or the moth like this. I would mark where I want all the holes, and then I could just go, bing, 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 and get them all done. But since I curved the piece and put the bezel in it, that presents a little bit, a little different thing that I have to do. So this is not going to work for this. So what I'll do is just use the 1/16 hole on any one of these that are 1/16. All right, let's check on that. Oh, I left my tongs in the other room. Hang on. All right. Okay. Well, I could have left this in there longer, but I think we'll have enough. Oh, an old school desk sounds great, Sonny. Hello, Nancy from Cincinnati. You're my next door neighbor state. All right, this needs some cleanup for sure, which I will do. I got a little silver solder on the face of this guy and some to clean up on the back. So what I have found is these little these 3M brushes work pretty darn good at getting some of this stuff off. Now where I think I want my face mask, and I don't think I have it here. I move stuff all around all the time when I'm working. All right. Oh, here it is. I didn't think it went too far. Oh, I'm pixelating, I see. All right. So I'm going to use this is a little micro motor that I bought in Tucson last year at the show, and I thought I really had to have it. I wanted it because of portability for teaching, but this doesn't have quite the strength of my Fordham, but it still works okay. I guess there's one that's a little bit more powerful. I wasn't really aware of the differences when I bought this, so I should have probably popped for the more expensive one, just for the extra power. But this actually helps knock off some of that solder. It doesn't do it 100% though, but it helps. But I have a fix for that anyway. So whenever you take your piece out of the pickle, there's always kind of like a frosty haze over the piece. I want to get all that cleaned off. And I also have a little bit of a solder seam, or a little solder showing at the base of this bezel. Alright. I have these other little tips. These little points are nice to get in. Well, Debbie, if you pop for one of these micromotors, make sure that it has enough RPMs. This says 30,000 on this one, but I think they have one that's even more powerful, and I would pop for that. Although this is still pretty good. All right. All right. So now I'm going to take this off. You can see I squashed my bezel a little bit. So what I will do, where is the tool? Oh. Where's the tool? Let's see here. I have this round file that I can open that bezel up a little bit. I have a serrated bezel on here, and I kind of bent the serrations just a little bit. So I'm going to open that back up so I can fit my stone in there when the time comes. All right, so now I'm going to place the holes, and then I'm going to plate this to cover any little bits of solder that I couldn't knock off. So I'm going to use my Sharpie marker. And wherever you want to put your rivets is up to you. But because I'm doing this after the fact, I have to be wary of being able to have access with the hole punch, since I soldered this stuff on before I made the holes. Because I guess once a dumbass, always a dumbass. That's how that's how I roll, I guess. I don't know that that's a good thing. All right, so I'm going to make my little holes. Once you feel the metal, the punch breaking through the metal, go ahead and start backing off. Don't keep screwing it down, totally closed, because then you're gonna end up leaving a mark from the tool on the face of your metal. So you don't want to do that. I'm going to verify that this hole punch will be the right size. And this is just a tad snug. This is the Beadsmith one. That is a tad small, which I can just open it slightly with my reamer, but I'm going to do this because I don't want to do that for every one of these during the demo. These rivets are so tiny, they're hard to hold on to. Okay, come on. Well, it's a solder pick. I don't want that. Okay, those fit. All right. Okay, so I'm going to continue doing these holes. Punching the right hole. Make sure you get the right size punch. And they can be random. You don't have to have them all oriented in the same place unless you want it to be. You can put them however you want. Try this 1/8 inch punch over here since I'm close to the jump ring. I think I'm going to just stick with this one. This is a lot faster. But it does require some hand strength, and not everybody has that. Okay. And there I would probably, there's a little roughness on the back, but I think by the time you pound your rivets in, you're pretty much going to take care of that. take off this Sharpie marker, that little excess on there. Now I'm gonna plate this right now, and then I'll put the rivets in. Okay, so what I am doing to plate it is I have a small container of blue pickle, old blue pickle. Okay, so I put that in a little Pyrex dish, and it is on a hot plate. Where's that other piece of caca? Oh, steel wool. Well, I guess I'll have to use this one. Oh, now I see it. Okay, so I'm just taking a piece of steel wool, and I am going to nestle this piece in the steel wool, and then I'm going to put that in that blue pickle. So basically, this is what it looks like. It's in the blue pickle. For some reason, the blue disappears like almost instantly when you put that steel in there. And this is still going to be on the hot plate. And normally I would keep it there for about 10 minutes, but I'm not going to leave it that long today. I'm just going to leave it in a few minutes just so you get the idea. I can touch it up later. I'll put these thumb screws in here so I don't lose them. Well, I guess I'll just leave that off. Keep it together for right now. Any questions? Okay, so I'm going to leave the rivet tool out. I don't need these things anymore. I've got my stone. I've got a denim lapis that I'm going to set. Very easy peasy. I should have had that on. These are set. I'll show you the back of this while we're waiting, if you can see it, I hope. These rivets are all set with that rivet tool, except this one. This one was pounded in with the ball peen hammer. Oh, and this one too, pounded in with the ball peen. Nothing wrong with any of these. It could be either way. These actually are quite nice that are on the back. You can just, hopefully you can see the difference on screen. I hope I'm not too close. I never know which way if I'm holding them well or not. But these pre-made rivets are nice because they have a nice kind of a domed, little bit of a domed head on them, and I think they look real pretty on something like this. All right. Look back at comments. I think we're caught up with that. Hello, Patricia. I don't know if I said hi to you before when I saw you come on, but hello. All right. Yeah, it's fun. You know, to me, this rivet tool makes things so much easier and quicker, and pretty neat. So, all right, set that aside. All right, and I'm also going to use, I just have a little piece of suede here, or leather. I guess this is leather. No, it's suede. Um, I have battles with my myself and my words. Excuse me. I'm going to use that while I'm putting the rivets in on the steel block, just so I don't mar up the heads of the rivets. So I don't know if it's truly necessary or not, but I prefer it. Okay, so let me check on this. It wasn't very long at all, so. But we shall see. Hopefully it's just enough to show you the difference. And it has plated already. It's pretty amazing. It's covered up that silver real well. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and put the rivets in. Well, this was really stupid on my part to not put the rivets in first because of the bezel. But that's where the rivet tool will save the day. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get the ones that are close to the bezel. What you do when you use this is, I'm using the rivet side of the Easy Rivet tool, and I'm turning it upside down because there's like a little depression, kind of like a little bowl in here that is for the rivet head. So I want that rivet head to lay in that piece or in that area, and then on the back side, well, great. First off, there on the top of this rivet tool, there is a little nub that sticks out that's in there, and it inserts inside of the hole of the rivet. Okay, so as you are closing the rivet, you have to make sure you're in proper alignment, which I'll turn it over as soon as I get that started. Okay, so this is in proper alignment now that the little nub of this top tool is inside the tube hole. And I'm just gonna squeeze this down. And the rivet is placed. Okay, but I did squeeze it a little bit hard, so I kind of got a little ridge from the tool in here. And hopefully I can get rid of that, but I don't know. That was my bad on my part, because I know better than that. All right, I just, that's why I say back off when you feel that the metal is compressed. Yes, you can, Sonny. You definitely can use this with layers. That's why they have, I mean, you only have so much height. Well, let's see here. Depends on how tall you want to make your piece, but you know, you could make your piece this tall. That's plenty of layers. If you were going to go longer than this, I would probably do it with those screws. They have screws that are longer, and they have little nuts on the back that you can piece your, you can make your longer pieces with stuff like that. That might be something I should show you guys someday too. Because I'm showing you this, I'm all thumbs. Normally it's not this complicated. All right, so let's not go as far. And the other issue is I've chosen, I should have gone a little bit smaller with, or in length with my rivet for this rivet tool. Well, or maybe not. This one's much better. Doesn't have any little mark on there. So that got into the area where I could not have gotten in because of putting the bezel cup on there. Dumb. Okay, so now I can kind of just hang this piece over the edge and put in a rivet. Carefully turn it upside down so the rivet doesn't fall out. And then take my ball peen hammer, and I'm kind of going like this. It's kind of hard to tell on my motion, but I'm kind of tapping it around in a circular motion so I get the metal spreads out evenly. I might have chosen too long of rivets for this, but maybe not. But note to self, if you ordered a kit, put your rivets in first before you do your other stuff. And that little bit of leather really protects that rivet head. I want to try to get these as flush and even as possible and have no sharp edges on your rivet. The fact that it's domed a little bit should not touch your skin, but you still want to make sure things are nice and smooth. Okay, so we'll just keep moving along here. So that just shows you that even though you're not using that rivet tool, you can use these rivets, but just don't use very long ones, because those will bend over just like a nail does when you put it in improperly. It's raining pretty good out there. I hear some thunder now. I hope we don't lose our connection. We've had a very dry spring so far. I don't know about how it is where you live, but it's been pretty dry, which is not a good thing. I'm just kind of not putting these in totally firmly yet. I'm going to work on those a little bit longer afterwards. I can still do that after the fact, just to speed this up a little bit, because there's not much left to do now. Also, if you didn't know, when you're making these holes with the little copper, when you punch them out, there's all these little bits that come out the little holes, that if you like to do resin projects, you can save all those little copper round hole parts and embed them in your resin. Another kind of fun thing. Okay, so all the rivets are placed. I'm going to fix this one a little bit. All right, so now I'm going to get a little bit of liver of sulfur. Oh, the aroma. Stick that in there. Rotten eggs, anyone? You can, at this point, after you get this piece out and clean it off a bit, if you wanted to tumble it, you could do that before you set your stone. Yeah, nothing like the smell of rotten eggs, right, Sonny? You can take off as much patina as you want, as much or as little. Get this out from under my nose. pretty amazing, isn't it? How just something, oh, steel wool in my finger. I swear I'm gonna start wearing rubber gloves when I do this. I keep getting more fibers in my fingers lately. I don't know why. I don't know why lately, unless I'm just clumsier. That's always a possibility. Open these back up a little bit because I smashed them again. All right. And that was a nice fit. All right, so now I'm going to take my pusher and set this little, oh, I bent that a little. These little bezel cups are pretty sweet for small jobs. They are, they would be very tedious to make something this small. At least in my world, it would be too tedious. I know people do it, but I'm only a glutton for punishment so much. All right, so I push that all on, and then this handy dandy little smooth set. It's an acrylic burnisher. And I'm just going to use that all the way around. It's pretty sweet. It's good for getting in small places. And burnish that serrated edge over the stone. Okay. And there you have it. So this can be connected to a tension bracelet. Pretty easily. The kits have the wire in them. So initially I hadn't thought to put those in there, but I am putting them in there. Just close that area over. And there you go. Makes a cute little bracelet for not all that much time investment, really. You know, like I've said before, it's mainly if you have all the right things, all the right tools and stuff and supplies, makes it pretty simple. So there you have it. All right, guys. Any other questions? It's pretty cut and dry, really, as far as, you know, what I just did. You can always hit the replay later on, and you know, we can do it together. For those that got the kits, you can play it together, play the replay and do your kit right at the same time if you like. Might answer any questions. But yeah, I mean, if you can't, if you have any other questions about this afterwards, you know, just let me know, and you can post it on the page, and I will get back to you as soon as I can. I'm going to put that handout out in a few minutes. I'll make that available. And we can go from there. You could, I mean, I put a 6mm stone in here, but I think equally what would be nice is an oval, like if you had an oval bezel, an oval stone. I think that would be really pretty as the body of the moth. You could do that, or you could put an 8mm stone, a little bit larger. I think this would probably be beautiful in silver. And if you did it in silver, I think I would put some tube settings in there and put some CZs, maybe some different colored CZs in there. I think that would be real pretty. You know, I think that there's a lot of options out there, you know, and everybody thinks a little bit differently. So, you know, it's kind of neat to kind of share your experiences on that. Oh, and this was 20 gauge copper. You could, if you had 18 gauge copper, that would be nice too. But I wouldn't go any thinner than 20 gauge because you have to etch it first. So, you know, you don't want to get it so thin that you're not, I don't know, the metal eats away a little bit when you etch it, so you don't want it to be too thin as a final outcome. But yeah, I think silver with some tube settings in here would be beautiful. That would be a really beautiful bracelet. So if you make these, I hope that you will post them on the group page and share them all over. You know, I just think they're a fun thing. If you didn't want to make a bracelet with this piece, you could put your jump rings on either side on the top and hang it from a chain. You know, I think that would work as well. You know, it just depends on what you want and what you like. So if you come up with some other ideas when you're making yours, I'd love to see them. So I think next week I'm going to do the beaded cabochon. This is one of my glass cabs, and I beaded with seed beads, made a seed bead bezel around it. So I think, so that would be fun to share. That one is going to be a little bit more involved. And I'm going to try to streamline it as much as I can, you know, for a demo rather than doing a whole class on it. But I'm going to try to do that. And there again, if you aren't a person that does a lot of seed bead work and this is intriguing to you and you want to try it out, I can probably put some kits together for you with the materials that you need for the project, because you need like 3 different sizes of seed beads and a bunch of different little things. But by the time you buy all the things, you know, like full-size tubes of stuff, and then if you decide you don't like doing it, you've got a bigger investment than if you just got a kit. So if there's any interest in that, I will make up some cabs that would be suitable for it, and then give you some color schemes, and we can go from there. I mean, this is all kind of, you know, I don't know. The thing with me and my teaching style, and when I had my shop, and even when I still do my classes, I usually provide everything for the students, because you don't know if you're going to like something before you invest all your money in tools and things, and that can be pretty hefty. So I always have enough tools, enough supplies for everybody, that they don't have to buy anything before they come to my class, and that way, you know, when they do decide if they like something, they can make informed choices for their tools and not buy things they don't need, spend money on that they thought might be good, but they find out is either not the proper thing or maybe not a good quality product. It's nice to be able to have somebody that's got some experience with some of this stuff. I mean, I don't know all the things, but through the years I've learned a lot, and I would try to steer you in the right direction before you invest in a lot of stuff. So So that's why kits are a nice thing, because you can pretty much try before you buy. Um, and, you know, and hey, I'm not making like uh, a lot of money off of these things. They're basically a little bit for my time, putting that stuff in, but it's not a profitable venture for me to just like sell kits for everything. But I enjoy doing it. So to a degree, I don't want to make like 100. So, but I don't think I have to worry about that. So anyway, please share your things when you make them. I appreciate it. I enjoy seeing them. I like to do the oohs and ahs, and we all get great ideas from everything. So I will keep you posted as far as this project for next week, but I think it'll be a go, and we'll go from there. So until then, I will see you in the group, and you guys all have a great rest of your week. Sunny's asking a question. Do you want to see things that I make even though it's not one of your demos? Sure. I mean, I'm always happy to see what you guys make. I mean, as long as it's like, and I know that's not where you're coming from, but as long as it's not selling posts, I'm good with that. Okay. And I would prefer pictures over videos only. Not that I don't enjoy seeing your videos, but the videos go in the video file or whatever, and it just makes more clutter. Maybe maybe that's not a polite word to say. I don't want to call stuff clutter, but to find my teaching demos, I'd prefer it to just you guys just post pictures rather than videos, if you get my meaning or whatever. All right, guys, I guess we made it through another one without losing the broadcast. So I will see you all later. Thanks for being here with me. Take care. Bye-bye.